This video is part 2 of my discussion regarding 5G and whether or not there is a plausible connection between it and the coronavirus or some other human sickness or disease. The link for part 1 is in the description box below. So if you haven't, once again, please like this video as the likes are free. So in addition to the previous video that I shot, I found 2 articles, one on Reuters and the other on Forbes, which I'm going to leave in the description box below. I also watched a host of videos on the page of a loyal subscriber who thinks that 5G is dangerous because I wanted to learn some more about what the other side was seeing and what the other, or should I say, those in opposition of 5G. I wanted to see what they were thinking and what some of the messages were on that side. And I didn't really see or hear anything very scientifically plausible that would suggest that, yeah, this poses an immediate danger or even a long-term danger. So right now I'm going to talk about the 2 articles that I found, and I'm going to close out with some conclusions of my own. So I'm going to start with the Reuters article, and this is a 5-minute read. So I'm going to read this thing verbatim, and this was published on March 16th, 2020, and it is entitled "False Claim 5G Networks Are Making People Sick, Not Coronavirus." And this was written by, I can't see it right now, so I think the author is at the bottom. So I'm going to read through this. And the article says, Facebook users have been sharing posts claiming 5G, not the coronavirus, is making people sick. And there are links at the end of each paragraph going to something else. The posts go on to include a list of various further claims that deny the reality of the virus and include various conspiracy type arguments about the coronavirus. The coronavirus outbreak started in December 2019 in Wuhan, China. The Center for Disease Control says on its website the virus had links to a seafood and live animal market where a human might have contracted the virus from an animal. The virus was then spread person to person. The symptoms of COVID-19 include fever, tiredness, cough, and shortness of breath that can appear 2 to 14 days after being exposed to the virus. The coronavirus is spread person to person. Mobile phones use radio waves. They send and receive radio frequency electromagnetic fields, or RF EMFs. 5G uses beamforming technology, which allows radio frequency electromagnetic fields to go directly where needed. The International Commission on Non-Ionizing Radiation Protection, or the ICNIRP, after 7 years of research, released 2020 guidelines on limiting exposure to electromagnetic fields. They include information about 5G. The Commission says the main effect that radio frequency electromagnetic fields have on the human body is increased temperature of exposed tissue. The body can handle small increases to body temperature, such as through exercising, but radio frequency exposure and increased temperature can be dangerous above a certain threshold. According to the ICNIRP, another general characteristic of RF EMFs is that the higher the frequency, the lower the depth of penetration of the EMFs into the body. As 5G technologies can utilize higher EMF frequencies or greater than 24 gigahertz, in addition to those currently used, which are less than 4 gigahertz, power from those higher frequencies will be primarily absorbed more superficially than that from previous mobile telecommunications technologies. Accordingly, 5G exposures will not cause any harm providing that they adhere to the ICNIRP 2020 guidelines. Eric Van Rongen, chairman of the ICNIRP, said in a video that there is no evidence that electromagnetic fields cause human health effects such as cancer, electrohypersensitivity, infertility, or anything else. The only two recognized health effects are nerve stimulation in up to 10 megahertz and heating from 100 kilohertz. So remember, hertz is the measure of frequency or cycles per second. The World Health Organization says no research has linked exposure to wireless technology with negative health effects. The WHO said on its website it will continue to review research in this area and is conducting a health risk assessment of all radio frequency ranges that will be available in 2022. Marvin C. Ziskin, Professor Emeritus of Radiology and Medical Physics, said there is no basis to expect that 5G would cause adverse health issues provided exposure limits are respected. Ziskin told Reuters that the weight of scientific evidence indicates that 5G emissions are not cumulative. That is, multiple exposures of innocuous exposures do not add to produce any adverse biological effect. I would add that there have been no health agency warnings about possible health risks of RF energy, including millimeter waves at exposure levels that an average consumer would experience from communications technology. This is consistent with assessments of the issue by standards setting groups such as IEEE and ICNIRP. Coronavirus symptoms can be found in detail on official government and international health organization sites. They bear no similarity to possible health effects stemming from mobile phone or 5G use. So I looked, but I couldn't find the author of that Reuters article, but again, I'm going to leave that in the description box below. And now I'm just going to briefly talk about the Forbes article. I'm not going to read this one all the way through because it's longer, but it's entitled 5G Networks and COVID-19 Coronavirus. Here are the latest conspiracy theories. And this was written by Bruce Y. Lee, and this one was more recent. It was on April 9th, 2020. And this is interesting because it actually gives the picture of a 5G cell phone tower. I've never seen one before now, but that's very interesting. And this article, it basically goes into the discussion of correlation of causation. And Mr. Lee basically makes the argument that correlation does not lead to causation, and that just because you propose that these two things are linked and they go together and this one's causing this one, that's not necessarily the case. And I'm going to look at, there are a series of tweets here that he cites, and he basically lines them up top to bottom. The first one is from Brendan Carr of the FCC, which I believe is the Federal Communications Commission, and it says, this tweet by someone with 4 million followers is straight from the most dangerous depths of tinfoil hatland. There are 2 check marks that's underneath that says COVID-19 is a virus spread by a person to person contact and not radio waves. FCC, FDA, EPA, and others all clear on the false claim that 5G is unsafe to USA. And so once again, this tweet by someone with 4 million followers is straight from the most dangerous depths of tinfoil hatland. And so the person with the 4 million followers is the very, very lovely Carrie Hilson. And Carrie Hilson's tweet says, people have been trying to warn us about 5G for years. Years is all capitalized. Petitions, organizations, studies. What we're going through is the effects of radiation. So Carrie's basically saying this is gamma, X-ray, and ultraviolet. 5G launched in China, all caps. So she's asserting that China's involved, the coronavirus is involved, something involved in China. November 1, 2019. People dropped dead. See attached and go to my Instagram stories for more. In caps, turn off 5G in lower caps by disabling LTE. So that's speculative correlation with, or maybe she shows proof on her IG stories, but that tweet is just speculation with no showing of proof. So with that, I want to say a few words about the regulatory sector. And so a lot of Americans and just people around the world are oblivious to what the government does. And most governments have regulatory sectors. And I wrote a blog post on what the regulatory sciences are, because when I tell people I'm a regulatory scientist, your lay person has no idea of what that is. So I'm going to leave that blog post in the description box below. But in a nutshell, regulatory scientists and regulatory divisions in the public sector within governments, they are charged with protecting the health of the public and making sure that products that were being sold and products that we're being exposed to are safe. And so I'm saying that to say that there have been scientists not only developing these technologies, but there are also scientists who've been studying these technologies in terms of how harmful, and if they are harmful, to human health. And so I think when people are thinking about 5G, they need to take into consideration that these things have been studied and characterized up to this point, and decisions have been made by people who have these backgrounds in physics and radiology and those kinds of things. And so then the question is, does the general public trust the regulatory decisions of their government officials? And in many instances, the answer is no. But I just wanted to say that there are individuals who are knowledgeable in these fields who have been studying the potential health effects as scientists in the private sector have been studying and trying to bring these new technologies to market. So in terms of the human health effects and my discussion with my cousin that I discussed at the beginning of this video, yeah, so I was trying to, as a biomedical scientist, I was trying to figure out what effects might result from exposure to some sort of radiation. Because in my mind, that's what 5G would be. You're creating some sort of wave, some sort of wave from the tower or from your phone, and I could see that in some way causing cancer over the long term, though that we would need data to confirm that, but I couldn't put that together with a respiratory sickness, which is manifesting through flu-like symptoms, which is the coronavirus / COVID-19. So in my mind, the two didn't go together, and it seems that the science community is coming down on that, or in the realm of that conclusion as well. We know what can lead to cancer. So we know that it's usually some form of DNA damage that causes the uncontrolled division of cells leading to a tumor. And we know that certain chemicals can get into the human body and act as carcinogens, or certain chemicals can get in the body through and do things like disrupt some of our hormonal pathways. We know that tumors can be caused through those mechanisms as well, but it's not plausible that something like 5G, which creates a radio wave, would cause that. So let's see, and I'm not an expert in 5G, and if there is evidence that it does do something like cause coughing, and if it does, if there's evidence that it can cause people to have to go to the hospital to get intubated and to be put on ventilators, or if there's any early evidence that it can cause cancer, or if there's some evidence that it can cause some harm to the environment, as a scientist, please share. Please leave it in the comment section below. Please send me an email at the email address on the credit slide of this video. Science is not about, I'm right and you're wrong. It's about getting to the answer, and it's about being willing to adjust your thought processes and your conclusions based upon the evidence presented. But it's not about theorizing and then just going off of the theories without backing those theories and speculations and conspiracies up with no data. You have to back those speculations and theories and conspiracies up with data before they can actually be scientifically plausible and accepted. So I'm going to stop this here. Please like this video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.